Greetings and welcome to my channel, The Healthy Voice. If you're new here, my name is Bella, and I am a voice coach who helps people who have been through trauma. It's affected their voice, and I help them reclaim it. Plain and simple. If you've been here before, welcome back. This week, I'm doing something a little different on my Substack as well as my YouTube channel. I'm actually sharing tips from my own life as I have navigated the recovery process. I've mentioned before here that I went through a lot of years where I struggled to speak in public, share my voice in public, despite technically being a professional singer. It sounds crazy, but it's true. From the time I was around 14 years old, I was performing solos in church on a monthly basis. It soon turned into a part-time vocation where I was performing multiple times a month. And this continued into my young adulthood when I actually began making a living. But some things happened. And even though I continued to make a living as a musician, and thank goodness I could play the piano because I was able to lean into my instrumental skills in order to survive and pay my bills. But some things happened that almost took my voice away. I could still teach, I could still summon up the courage to perform at my students' piano recitals a couple times a year. But beyond that, my days of singing on a regular, multiple times a week basis were over. And that went on for over 10 years before I finally decided to do something about it and get some help. And so now here I am on The Healthy Voice, helping other people go through the recovery process. And so this week I posted an article on Substack focusing mostly on sinus congestion, which plagues a lot of singers and speakers and makes the whole voice process terribly difficult, terribly uncomfortable. And chronic sinus infections, sinus conditions, allergies has been one of the main ways my body has manifested illness in response to trauma. And this has been going on ever since I was a little kid. And I have learned ways to manage it. And so I put it into an article. If that's something that you think would help you, I'll put the link in the description. And tomorrow I'll be posting another article where I actually talk about the things that have helped me in PTSD recovery. This is something that I think you'll find interesting. So definitely subscribe to my Substack if you want to learn about that. But I saved one of my favorite tools for PTSD recovery, vocal reclamation recovery for my YouTube video right now. And so I want to share with you one of my favorite tools for recovery. And I call this voice journaling. And I like to use voice journaling and something else I like to call the walk and talk. And so let me explain what this is. It's exactly what it sounds like. Voice journaling is where instead of writing down all the thoughts in your head, processing all the feelings through writing, instead what you do is you take a recording device and you speak into it. And one of my favorite ways to do this practice is while walking. When I first got the idea to try this out, I was living up in wine country in Northern California, where it's just so beautiful and you can walk for hours just seeing beautiful fields of vineyards and cow pastures, and it's amazing. I now live in a big city. I live in Los Angeles, but I still do this practice where I live. It doesn't matter where you live. You could even do this on a treadmill or walking around in your house. I find the act of movement comforting because the left-right action of your feet, left, right, what it does is it regulates your heartbeat. And so you begin to calm your nervous system through the act of walking, which makes it a little bit easier to talk. A lot of times people feel really funny and self-conscious speaking to no one, speaking into a recorder or speaking out loud to nobody, but it's really effective. And I'm going to explain why. So first of all, I want you to know that when I started this practice, I felt really silly as well. The idea was given to me many years ago by a massage therapist who was a major part of my recovery process. I was seeing him on an almost weekly basis for a long time. And he understood that what I was dealing with was PTSD and that it was affecting my voice. It was negatively affecting my ability to speak and sing freely. And so he gave me this idea to just talk out loud, just talk to myself. I felt too ridiculous to do it, and so I did not. And so it wasn't until several years later when I was living in wine country and I was starting to feel like I've made a lot of progress here. I'm really starting to feel more courageous. My feelings of self-worth are coming back, and I feel like I'm ready to share my voice with the world, but I'm still feeling stuck. And I remembered what he told me. I decided to couple it with a recording device because I had recently learned about something called the observer effect. Now, this is a principle in physics. I am not a scientist, and so I'm going to read something to you. So here's the best definition I could come up with. There's something called the observer effect, a principle from physics that says the act of observing something changes it. You cannot watch a thing without altering it. When we turn this idea inward, it means that the simple act of witnessing what's happening inside us, naming a feeling, hearing our own voice, describe a pattern, already begins to shift it. So let's go back, and here's the science definition of the observer effect. The observer effect in physics refers to the fact that the act of observing something changes it. You cannot measure a particle's position without interacting with it in some way, and that interaction itself alters the thing being measured. The observer is never separate from what's observed. So what this is saying is that the act of looking at something changes its composition. This is a big deal. And when I first learned about this, I realized that this had some kind of a connection to being seen when I sing, being heard when I sing, being watched when I'm trying to share information, and how if I'm alone in my room singing, I'm okay. But as soon as I realize that people are watching me, it changes everything. But I decided to use this observer effect to my advantage in my therapeutic use of voice journaling. The reason why is this. I most likely will not go back and listen to my voice recording. However, the thought that I might listen to it in the future is enough to trigger the observer effect for me. Knowing that future me might be listening to current me as I'm speaking is enough to make me change my behavior around my voice. It's enough to make me be more mindful of the way I'm speaking, my pacing, my resonance placement. Am I swallowing my words? Am I enunciating? Am I bringing the sound forward enough? It's enough to make me change my speech, which is what I want, because when I'm working on my voice, I'm practicing all of these techniques in an attempt to make them stick so that they become permanent. So voice journaling acts as a practice mechanism for voice work, but it's also incredible for processing the stuff that's holding you back. It's a lot like therapy, except there's no one talking back to you. There's nobody who you might feel like is judging you. And so there's no self-consciousness. It's just you observing you. It's amazing. And so if you'd like to try this out, I highly recommend it. Now, if you're somebody who's a little bit worried about Big Brother and the idea of speaking into your phone makes you nervous, I totally get it. There are devices out there that are affordable that you can order simply for this practice alone, where you can just go and record yourself. And like I said, you may never listen to it, but the act of recording yourself triggers something in your mind that makes you work a little harder, makes you stay a little more focused, gives you a little bit more of an incentive to really make this practice count. And so if you want to do this, I recommend you find a walking path where you can be alone and just surround yourself with nature, get that left, right, right movement of your body that regulates your heartbeat, gets you into a calm place. There are also pressure points on the bottom of your feet, which will also trigger a relaxation response. And so, as you start to get relaxed in this walking practice, your mind will start to generate ideas for you to talk about. I recommend the way you begin is just begin. You can say something as simple as, I'm talking into this recorder. I feel really silly. I feel really silly. You can just say how you feel until another idea pops into your head. And so perhaps you might start asking yourself the question, why do I feel so silly? Nobody's listening to me. What's the problem? Maybe it will trigger something in you, something, a memory from the past where you felt embarrassed in front of other people. And so that's your cue to talk about that thing that happened. Again, like I said, this is like therapy, but you are the therapist. You are going to analyze whatever it is that comes up. Because nobody is there, you don't have to be conscious of anybody's time or attention, and you can talk as long as you want. For me, as somebody who loves to talk and is often self-conscious about how much time I'm taking up in another person, how much of their attention I'm requiring, this is so liberating. You can go out for hours and talk, process things. I got to tell you, I chose this topic for this video because I wanted to choose the one thing that I felt was the most effective of all the healing modalities. And when you see my article tomorrow in Substack, you will see it's a long list of things that have helped me to manage my PTSD symptoms over the course of at least 20 years, maybe even a little bit more. Voice journaling was the tipping point for me. I was about 20 years or more into my recovery process, and discovering voice journaling as a practice was the tipping point. After several months of going on these walk and talks, I was starting to feel my sense of self-worth come to the surface. My confidence was increasing. I was feeling more comfortable sharing ideas with people that I feared would be laughed at. And guess what? They were not laughed at because I was totally confident in them. And even if I got the sense that people were kind of surprised by the things I was saying, I never once felt like they were making fun of me. My insecurities were not getting the better of me anymore. So I recommend this practice. If you do try this out, or if this is something you already do, leave a comment and let us know what it's been like for you. I'm genuinely curious. And if you need assistance on your vocal recovery process, or if you're also dealing with PTSD symptoms, I highly recommend voice work. Voice work has been one of the most effective practices in my own recovery. You can check out all that I have to offer in the description below. I have a private community where we do live sessions every week, where we also do sound healing practices and courage circles. I have a 7-week self-paced course called the Voice Liberation Method, and I do private coaching. So check it all out. And if anything, just subscribe to my channel or leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep going. The world needs your unique voice.